Special and Forbidden Bending. In the world of Avatar, The Last Airbender, and The Legend of Korra, most benders master only the basics of their element, but a rare few push bending far beyond ordinary limits. These unique substyles are powerful, mysterious, and sometimes so dangerous they were outlawed or lost to history. Today, we're going to break down every known special, rare, and forbidden bending technique, sorted by their elemental roots. Waterbending. Waterbending is defined by adaptability and flow, meeting force with redirection instead of resistance. Its martial foundation is Tai Chi, with circular flowing movements that emphasize control, balance, and turning an opponent's power back on them. This makes waterbending one of the most versatile arts. A skilled bender can shift seamlessly between defense, counterattacks, and even healing. And because water is present in rivers, oceans, air, and living beings, it grants its users a deep connection to life itself. Heart freezing. Avatar Kyoshi, who hailed from the Earth Kingdom, lived longer than any other avatar and became known for her uncompromising sense of justice. During her lifetime, she studied waterbending under Atuat, a renowned healer from the Northern Water Tribe. Atuat was famed for her advanced medical techniques, including the ability to lower a patient's body temperature to slow the process of death. By carefully cooling the body, she could hold death at bay and give the wounded a chance to survive. Kyoshi learned this delicate practice, but where Atuat used it to preserve life, Kyoshi turned it into a weapon. She reversed the principle, drawing the warmth out of her target's body until their organs froze solid. This became known as heart freezing. Unlike other lethal waterbending methods, it did not restrain or manipulate. It directly shut down the body's most vital functions. Kyoshi first demonstrated it against Yun, the former false avatar, after his rampage left devastation in its wake and claimed the life of her Fire Nation ally. Confronting him in grief and fury, Kyoshi drew upon the same waterbending principles of healing she had learned from Atuat, but inverted them completely. With a controlled motion, she drained the warmth from Yun's body, freezing his heart until he fell lifeless before her. In that moment, a healer's art became an executioner's weapon, a reflection of Kyoshi's resolve to end suffering no matter the cost. Healing. Healing is one of the most respected branches of waterbending, rooted in the idea that water carries the body's life energy. By guiding that energy with bending, healers can close wounds, reduce pain, and accelerate recovery. The skill is most effective on fresh injuries, where the flow of chi can be restored before permanent damage sets in. The Northern and Southern Water tribes both developed healing traditions, with the Northern tribe holding dedicated training for young waterbenders. Katara, one of the most famous healers of her era, demonstrated the art's highest potential when she used spirit water from the oasis to revive Aang after Azula's lightning strike. Healing remains a cornerstone of waterbending, balancing its more violent applications with an ability to preserve life. Bloodbending. Bloodbending is one of the darkest forms of waterbending, granting the ability to control the water within a living body and force their muscles to move against their will. The technique was first created by Hama, a master waterbender from the Southern tribe who was captured during the Fire Nation raids. Imprisoned in a metal cell with no access to open water, she searched desperately for another source. Over years of confinement, she discovered the faint pull of moisture inside living creatures. She began practicing on the rats that shared her cell, slowly refining her control until she could bend their bodies with precision. On the night of a full moon, when waterbenders are strongest, Hama pushed the technique further. She overpowered her guards by bending the blood in their veins, forcing them to open her cell and securing her escape. Later, bloodbending evolved even further. Yakone, and eventually his son Tarlok, mastered the art without the aid of the full moon, and even without physical gestures. This form, known as psychic bloodbending, allowed them to subdue groups of opponents instantly. Because of its invasive and terrifying nature, bloodbending was outlawed in Republic City and remains one of the most feared forbidden arts in history. Plantbending. Plantbending, often called swamp bending, is the ability to control the water inside plants. By bending the liquid within vines, roots, and trees, waterbenders can animate vegetation as if it were an extension of their own limbs. This style is most famously practiced by the Foggy Swamp tribe, who use it to entangle enemies, create massive whips of vines, and even sense the interconnected life of the swamp. Because water flows through all living things, swamp benders view the world as a single, unified organism, a philosophy that mirrors their bending. Plantbending demonstrates the versatility of waterbending, turning the environment itself into a weapon or a shield, and showing that water is not limited to rivers or oceans, but runs through the living world all around us. Spiritbending. Spiritbending is a rare technique that allows a waterbender to manipulate a spirit's inner energy. By channeling healing techniques through water, a bender can cleanse negative energy from a spirit, restoring it to balance. When performed, the spirit glows brightly and either regains its peaceful form or dissipates into light. The technique also has a darker side. Instead of purifying, a skilled bender can corrupt a spirit, twisting its energy into chaos. This corruptive version can even affect humans, destabilizing their inner balance and threatening to destroy their soul. In the era of Avatar Korra, Unalaq used corruptive spirit bending to fuel his power, while Korra herself mastered its restorative form to bring spirits back into harmony. Spirit bending is rare and dangerous, existing at the border of healing and destruction. Icebending. Icebending is one of the most practical extensions of waterbending, allowing a bender to freeze water instantly into solid structures. It is commonly used in the northern and southern water tribes, where ice is as abundant as water itself. Ice can serve both defensive and offensive purposes. Waterbenders shape it into walls, barriers, and armor, or form it into sharp projectiles and weapons. Skilled users can shift ice seamlessly between solid and liquid states during combat, making it a fluid tool for attack and protection alike. The prevalence of ice in polar environments made this technique a cornerstone of water tribe warfare, where entire fortresses and battlefields were constructed from frozen water. Snowbending. Snowbending manipulates loosely packed snow, a softer medium than ice but still highly versatile. Waterbenders can sculpt it into sudden drifts, whip it into the air to blind opponents, or compact it into heavy mounds to immobilize targets. In blizzards, skilled snowbenders can vanish entirely, turning the storm itself into cover. While less precise than ice, snowbending highlights the ability of waterbenders to adapt even the most fragile form of their element into a strategic advantage. Mist, fog, and steam bending. By manipulating water in its gaseous state, waterbenders can create rolling fog, dense mist, or bursts of scalding steam. These techniques are often used for concealment, ambush, or sudden disorientation of opponents. Mist can blanket a battlefield, making it difficult to see or aim, while steam can erupt in blinding clouds when water meets extreme heat. Some benders use these vapors to mask movement, vanish from sight, or set up attacks from unexpected angles. Though less direct than ice or bloodbending, control over mist and steam shows how waterbending reaches into every phase of the element's cycle, even the air itself. Earthbending. Earthbending is defined by stability and resilience, rooted in the principle of standing firm against any obstacle. Its martial inspiration comes from Hung Gar, a southern Shaolin style that emphasizes strong stances, rooted footing, and powerful, straightforward strikes. This gives earthbenders a style that is direct and unyielding. They favor endurance over evasion, meeting force head-on and overwhelming opponents with raw strength. At its core, earthbending is about waiting for the right moment, then responding with decisive power. It embodies patience, durability, and the unshakable will of stone. Metalbending. For centuries, metal was believed to be beyond the reach of earthbenders. That changed when Toph Beifong discovered that even refined metal contains trace amounts of raw earth. By sensing and manipulating these impurities, she bent her way out of an unbreakable metal cage and unlocked a new branch of earthbending. At first, metalbending required direct contact, but with practice, Toph refined it into full control at a distance. She later founded a metalbending academy and trained the first generation of students, many of whom went on to serve in Republic City's police force. The one known limitation is platinum, a metal so pure it lacks any earth particles to bend. This weakness was famously exploited by Hiroshi Sato, an inventor and industrialist who built platinum mecha tanks for the Equalists to neutralize the advantage of metalbenders on the battlefield. Seismic sense. Seismic sense is the ability to perceive vibrations through the ground, creating a mental map of one's surroundings. It allows an earthbender to detect movement, shapes, and even subtle details like breathing or heartbeat through solid surfaces. The technique was first mastered by the Badger Moles, the original earthbenders, who relied on it as their primary form of sight. Toph Beifong, born blind, learned directly from them and perfected the ability, using it to navigate the world with greater precision than ordinary vision. With practice, seismic sense can extend beyond simple awareness. Toph demonstrated the ability to track opponents through walls, sense lies by monitoring changes in heartbeat, and even fight in total darkness. For earthbenders attuned to it, the ground itself becomes a constant source of information. Lavabending. Lavabending is the rare ability to bend molten earth, combining the stability of rock with the destructive force of fire. Early lore suggested it was unique to avatars like Kyoshi and Roku, but later it was revealed that gifted earthbenders could develop the skill independently. In the modern era, Gazan of the Red Lotus demonstrated its devastating potential by melting fortifications and collapsing entire structures. Bolin, once thought incapable of metal bending, eventually unlocked Lavabending as his specialized talent. The technique is exceptionally destructive. It can topple cities, overwhelm armies, and reshape landscapes in moments. Few can wield it safely, as controlling both fluid motion and extreme heat requires immense precision. Sandbending. Sandbending is practiced primarily by the nomadic tribes of the Siwang Desert, where solid rock is scarce and shifting dunes dominate the landscape. Unlike standard earthbending, which relies on firm ground and rooted stances, sandbending requires a lighter touch and constant adjustment to control loose, granular earth. Trained sandbenders can create waves of sand, craft funnels to trap enemies, or even. Though often underestimated compared to metal or lava, sandbending proves that even the most unstable terrain can become a powerful tool in the hands of a skilled earthbender. Glassbending. Glassbending is an extremely rare form of earthbending, recorded only once in history. During her journeys, Avatar Kyoshi was struck in the neck by shards of glass. In the moment of crisis, she instinctively manipulated the fragments, pulling them free without causing further harm. Glass is essentially refined sand, earth that has been melted and cooled. This makes it bendable in theory, though it requires extraordinary sensitivity to detect and control its structure. Kyoshi's feat proved that even materials thought too altered or processed could still respond to earthbending. The art never became widespread, but its existence highlights the potential of earthbending to adapt far beyond stone and soil. Pigment bending. Pigment bending, sometimes called paint bending, is the manipulation of mineral-based pigments. Since many traditional paints are made from finely ground earth minerals, a skilled earthbender can pull those particles free and shape them as a weapon. This requires extreme precision, as the fragments are far smaller and lighter than stone or sand. The only known user of this technique was Yoon, the Earth Kingdom prodigy once mistaken for the Avatar before Kyoshi's true identity was revealed. While in the Fire Nation, Yoon demonstrated pigment bending by stripping colors from royal portraits and reshaping them into sharp projectiles. Though unique to Yoon, pigment bending proves how earthbenders can extend their control to even the most delicate traces of mineral, transforming something as harmless as paint into a lethal tool. Crystalbending. Crystalbending is a rare variation of earthbending that manipulates naturally occurring crystal formations. The best example comes from the crystal catacombs beneath Ba Sing Se, where earthbenders shape tunnels, cages, and even weapons out of glowing green crystal. Unlike metal or sand, crystal is not a processed material, but a distinct geological form of earth. Bending it requires sensitivity to its rigid structure, which differs from the granular flow of soil or the solidity of stone. While not commonly practiced outside of Ba Sing Se, crystal bending demonstrates how earthbenders can adapt their art to even the most specialized materials found in nature. Mud and clay bending. Mud and clay bending take advantage of earth mixed with water, creating a material that is neither solid rock nor free-flowing liquid. Depending on its composition, both earthbenders and waterbenders can influence it, but earthbenders typically dominate when the mixture is dense with soil. This form is especially useful in marshes, riverbanks, and battlefields where heavy rains soften the ground. Benders can trap enemies by pulling them into deep mud, shape clay into projectiles, or quickly raise walls from wet soil. Though often overlooked compared to metal or lava, mud and clay bending highlight the shared boundary between water and earth, showing how the elements overlap in practice. Earthbending immortality. Avatar Kyoshi lived to the age of 230, an unprecedented lifespan that led many to believe she had unlocked a secret earthbending technique tied to longevity or even immortality. Her unwavering physicality, unmatched endurance, and unyielding will made the legend believable, the Avatar who became one with the very stone she stood upon. However, no canon evidence supports the existence of an earthbending immortality art. Kyoshi's extended life was the result of spiritual mastery, disciplined chi control, and an extraordinary connection to the Avatar spirit. Her strength came not from bending the earth to halt aging, but from grounding herself so completely in balance that her body and spirit endured for centuries. This rumor endures because it reflects the nature of earthbending itself, to stand firm, unchanging, and eternal against the passage of time. Airbending. Airbending embodies freedom, movement, and detachment. Its martial inspiration is Bagua Zhang, a style built on circular walking, evasive footwork, and constant redirection. Rather than meeting force head-on, airbenders flow around attacks, using agility and positioning to stay untouchable. This reflects the philosophy of the air nomads, who valued pacifism and spiritual balance. To them, bending was less about destruction and more about avoiding conflict. Though in skilled hands, air could strike with overwhelming speed and precision. Airbending's essence lies in staying in motion, never rooted and never restrained. True flight. True flight is the highest level of airbending, achieved by freeing oneself from all earthly attachments. Unlike gliding with staffs or riding air currents, this technique allows the bender to lift into the sky unaided and move with complete freedom. The first known user was Guru Lagima, an air nomad who lived thousands of years before Aang. Through deep spiritual discipline and detachment, he unlocked the ability to fly at will. Millennia later, Zahir of the Red Lotus achieved the same state after the death of his final earthly tie, allowing him to soar unrestrained by gravity. Flight demonstrates the ultimate expression of airbending philosophy, complete liberation from the physical world. Suffocation. Suffocation is a deadly extension of airbending that removes breathable air from around a target. Instead of shaping currents for movement or defense, the bender strips oxygen away, leaving the victim gasping in a vacuum. Avatar Yang Chen was known to use a restrained form of this ability, drawing air away just enough to cause dizziness or unconsciousness before restoring it. In contrast, Zahir of the Red Lotus wielded the technique with lethal intent. He pulled air directly from the lungs of the Earth Queen, surrounding her head in a tight sphere of vacuum until she suffocated. This art turns the freedom of air into a weapon of restriction, making it one of the most terrifying and forbidden airbending practices. Spiritual projection. Spiritual projection allows an airbender to separate their spirit from their body and travel across great distances in moments. While projecting, the bender can pass through solid matter, move freely through environments like deep water, and even communicate with others spiritually. The technique requires strong spiritual attunement and focus. Jinora, daughter of Tenzin, demonstrated this ability during the time of Avatar Korra, using it to locate allies and guide them through danger. Spiritual projection shows the air nomad's deep connection to the spirit world, making it as much a spiritual practice as a bending technique. Sound manipulation, air scream. Airbenders can influence sound by shaping the vibrations that carry it. The most extreme example comes from Avatar Yang Chen, who once unleashed a scream so powerful it carved channels into the sea and left a companion permanently deaf. Though rarely practiced, sound manipulation demonstrates how airbending extends beyond currents and pressure into subtler forces like resonance and vibration. In theory, it could be used to amplify voices, disrupt balance, or even incapacitate enemies with concussive bursts of sound. This technique remains unique to Yang Chen, but it illustrates the hidden potential within airbending, the power to turn something as intangible as sound into a devastating weapon. Ice breath, wind chill control. During his mission to free King Bumi, Avatar Aang exhaled a blast of air so cold it instantly froze the chains restraining him, shattering them moments later. This rare display suggests that airbenders can manipulate not only pressure and motion, but also temperature, chilling the air to the point of freezing solid matter. This technique, often called ice breath or wind chill control, appears to be a fusion of air and water principles, lowering temperature by rapidly extracting heat from the air itself. It's unknown whether this ability belongs exclusively to the Avatar, who can blend multiple elements, or if it lies dormant within advanced airbending potential. If proven possible beyond the Avatar state, it would mean airbenders could control not just the movement of wind, but the very climate around them, turning the breath of life into a weapon of frost. Firebending. Firebending embodies power, energy, and control. Its martial foundation is Northern Shaolin, a style known for wide stances, fast footwork, and explosive strikes. Unlike the other elements, firebending draws not only from the environment but also from the bender's own life energy, making it as much an expression of willpower as physical technique. Fire is creation and destruction in equal measure. At its best, it represents vitality and drive. At its worst, unchecked aggression. Mastery requires balance, tempering raw power with discipline. This duality shapes every branch of firebending, from precision lightning to devastating combustion, lightning generation, and redirection. Lightning is one of the most advanced firebending techniques, created by separating the positive and negative energies within the body to produce a concentrated electrical discharge. This requires absolute precision and emotional control. A single misstep can cause the energy to backfire, injuring the user instead of their target. Masters like Firelord Ozai and Azula demonstrated lightning's devastating potential, with a single strike capable of killing instantly. Because of its lethal nature, a counter technique was developed by Iroh after studying waterbending. Instead of resisting lightning directly, the bender guides it through their body and releases it safely, usually through the fingertips. Known as lightning redirection, it demands calm focus and perfect alignment. Any hesitation can be fatal. Iroh passed this knowledge on to Zuko, who later used it to survive Azula's lightning in their final Agni Kai. Together, generation and redirection represent both sides of firebending philosophy: destruction through raw power and discipline through control. Combustion bending. Combustion bending is a rare and devastating firebending technique that focuses heat into a concentrated beam, triggering massive explosions at a distance. The power originates from a specialized third eye chakra, usually marked by a tattoo or scar on the forehead. The first known user was an assassin nicknamed Sparky Boom Man, later more formally known as Combustion Man, who hunted Aang and his companions. Years later, Pai Li of the Red Lotus revealed the full scope of the technique, destroying fortresses and overwhelming armies with pinpoint blasts. While nearly unstoppable in its reach, combustion bending has one fatal weakness. If the third eye is blocked or struck, the energy can backfire and kill the user instantly. Blue fire. Blue fire is an intensified form of firebending, known for its higher temperature and greater precision compared to ordinary orange flames. The most famous user was Azula, Princess of the Fire Nation, whose prodigious control allowed her to generate blue flames consistently in combat. Blue fire burns hotter and moves faster, making it harder to block or redirect. It is also more difficult to control, requiring extraordinary focus to maintain without losing balance. While other firebenders, such as Avatar Roku, briefly accessed blue flames under unique circumstances, Azula remains the only known bender to wield it as her natural style. This ability illustrates how firebending can evolve with mastery, transforming a common element into something sharper, hotter, and far more dangerous. Iridescent dragonfire. Iridescent dragonfire is a rare and legendary form of firebending, seen only in the original firebending masters, the dragons. Unlike ordinary flame, their fire burns in shifting colors, producing a brilliant, rainbow-like display. This multicolored fire represents the purest expression of firebending, tied not to destruction, but to the life-giving energy of the sun. When Aang and Zuko sought the truth of firebending, the dragons revealed this flame to them, teaching that fire is not merely rage and power, but also warmth and creation. Though almost never seen in battle, dragonfire symbolizes the original spirit of firebending, a balance of beauty, danger, and vitality. Heat regulation. Breath of fire. Firebenders can regulate their internal heat, allowing them to endure extreme cold or generate warmth from within. This subtle technique often goes unnoticed, but it reflects the deep connection between fire and life energy. A common expression of this skill is the breath of fire, where a firebender exhales controlled flame to maintain body heat or intimidate foes. Iroh demonstrated this during his imprisonment in the Earth Kingdom, using his breath to heat his chains and burn his captors. Though less destructive than lightning or combustion, heat regulation shows the versatility of firebending. It is not only a weapon, but also a means of survival and endurance. Fire healing. Fire healing is described as an ancient technique that allows a firebender to sense the flow of chi within living beings. By refining their flame to resonate with spiritual energy rather than heat, a master can detect blockages or imbalances along a person's chi paths, a form of energetic diagnosis rather than physical healing. Unlike water healing, which uses water to mend tissue and close wounds, fire healing operates on a spiritual level, realigning the body's internal energy without regenerating flesh. This practice was demonstrated in The Legend of Korra, when a Fire Nation healer used firebending to assess Avatar Korra's chi flow after her battle with Vaatu, confirming that firebenders can indeed sense spiritual energy. Still, fire healing remains a secondary technique, lightly touched upon in canon and never developed into a full discipline. Yet, it perfectly reflects firebending's deeper nature, the power to transform destruction into renewal through mastery of life energy itself. Smokebending. Smokebending has never been confirmed as a distinct form of firebending, but one scene offers an intriguing possibility. During the eruption on Roku's island, Avatar Roku and Fire Lord Sozin worked together to contain the destruction. Amid the chaos, Sozin appeared to manipulate the thick smoke and ash spewing from the volcano, shaping it as if it were an extension of fire itself. If this display was intentional, it suggests firebenders may be capable of influencing the byproducts of fire, controlling not only the flame, but also the smoke, ash, and heat it produces. In theory, smokebending could be used to obscure vision, suffocate opponents, or redirect toxic plumes away from allies. Though never referenced again in canon, this moment hints that the boundaries of firebending may extend further than flame alone, into the haze that lingers after the fire burns out. Energy and cross-spiritual bending. Energy bending is the oldest and most mysterious bending art, predating the four elements themselves. Long before the Avatar cycle began, the lion turtles used energy bending to grant and remove bending abilities from humans. Unlike other elements, energy bending does not manipulate the physical world, but instead alters a person's life energy directly. With it, a master can grant bending, take it away, or even restore bending that was stolen by force. Avatar Aang used energy bending to remove Fire Lord Ozai's abilities at the end of the 100-Year War, and later, Avatar Korra restored bending to those who had been stripped of it. The practice is incredibly dangerous as it requires the user to confront another person's spiritual essence directly. Without unshakable strength of spirit, the bender risks being overwhelmed and losing themselves in the process. Energy bending stands apart from all other forms, not tied to any nation, not limited by physical states, and existing as a reminder of bending's ancient spiritual origins. Comment what style bender you would be. Like and subscribe for more.